Greetings, friend. Welcome to another message from the wilderness. Today we are once again in the letter to the Romans that Paul wrote about 2,000 years ago. We are going to be in chapter 13, looking at verses 8 through 10. Now, what we're doing in this series called Passages is looking at small passages that have great truths, but we always want to remember that context is very important. And in Romans, we see from chapter 12 toward the end of the book a very practical description of how the Christian life looks or should look. So we're right in the middle of some very important teaching concerning our Christian life. But go back and begin in chapter 12 and read through the end of the book to get the idea of what Paul is talking about here. But this stands on its own, and we see this mirrored in other passages that Paul has given us or will give us. Let's start in Romans 13, verse 8. Owe no one anything except to love one another. For he who loves his neighbor has fulfilled the law. For the commandments, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not murder, you shall not steal, you shall not give false testimony, you shall not covet, and whatever other commandments there are all summed up in this saying, namely, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Love doesn't harm a neighbor. Love, therefore, is the fulfillment of the law. That is succinct. That is focused down to the brightest jewel. And it answers the question, what do I need to do to be a Christian? It's not easy to live this way, and we rely on God's Spirit to help us to love. But it is the beating heart of Christianity. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. And if you do that, we're told that we have fulfilled God's law. But we're also told love doesn't harm a neighbor. So do no harm. Always look for what is best for other people. So we could talk about this passage for the rest of our lives, but we don't have to. What we do need to do, though, is to live it out in our lives. We need to do no harm. We need to love other people and consider their needs as we consider our own needs. That's what Jesus did when he was here on this earth. That's what he values today. That's what God values. This concept has been thrown out, unfortunately, of much that is called Christianity today. Paul places love in the highest place. And God expects us to listen what inspired writers such as Paul and John, and Peter, and James had to say. This concept is throughout the New Testament, from the beginning to the ending, from Matthew to Revelation. The concept of love and being judged according to our love, and the fact that our faith must work through love as Christians is very important. We're saved by faith through grace through faith. We are baptized into Christ and raised with Him to walk in newness of life, and that life must be characterized by love and good works if we are going to be pleasing to God, and we want to be pleasing to God. These passages that we've been covering talk about this over and over and over again, but so many today do not speak of these things, and they seem to not think of these things. And yet, there it is in the New Testament, over and over. We owe everyone love. We are doing this because God wants us to do it. Meditate on this. It's easy to practice it if we let God work through us, because we just become loving and nice and kind, and don't try to make enemies, but try to make friends for God. We will say goodbye for this time. There are few passages that are more important than what we have just looked at, so think on it. Goodbye for now.